you ready for a little Southern humor mixed with relevant topics we can all relate to? We're about to pull back the curtains and mix it up. Scoot your chair up. It's time to talk about all the things and ask all the questions. Welcome to Get It Together, y'all.
You better get it together and you better have it together. This is going to be a fun show. If you've ever wanted to do a ride along, you know, and kind of be in the back seat of a cop car or do something exciting, well, this is your chance in a podcast. We've got a couple of really fun guests that I can't wait for you to hear some stories, and we don't even know what we're going to ask them. We
don't know anything about this show, okay?
We're kind of lost. We're excited, though. All I can tell you is that you want to have coffee with a couple of police officers, and so get you a cup. And so get ready for a good show. And I'm your host, Cindy Larson. And I'm really happy that you joined us today. And I'm here with April.
Yes, and I'm your co-host, April Potter. And I am so excited about this show, too.
I know. We're kind of like a couple little girls, and we're just, you know.
We're a little giddy about this one, I think.
Are. We're a little awestruck. So it's okay. We'll settle down. We'll get mature. So it's all right.
We're going to be serious now.
No, we
not
better
really.
Not be.
Are you kidding? No, our whole thing is Southern humor. We can't be serious, right? No, but our guest today is actually one of my dear friends that we made a list, okay? An initial list, and my friend Huston Callaway was on my initial list that I wanted to interview, and he's here today, and his friend Allan, Rashid. Did I say it right?
You did.
I'm excited. I'm proud of you.
I know. I was sweating it over here, so we're on a good roll. So can you guys just tell a little bit about what you do in a sentence or two?
Huston first.
I'm Huston Callaway, and I've been in law enforcement for about 15 years total. I went away from that for a while, went back to school to get my graduate degree, and then I missed it so much I had to come back. So
wow, it gets in your blood.
It does.
Yeah.
Yes. It's a calling.
I want to hear. Yeah, I mean, I can get that.
Yes, and Allan.
My name's Allan Rashid. I started back in 2010 as a reserve, full-time 2011, and I'm starting my third year as a SRO.
Okay.
So I've kind of left patrol, school resource officer in the high school.
Wow.
Man, okay. You see it all.
We've got a whole nother chapter over here.
Well, we just write that down. How exciting.
Yeah.
So, yes, we...
my dad's been in law enforcement for 44 years, so you know this is like close to my heart.
Sure.
And my grandfather was a deputy sheriff, and he was one of these, it was a little Mayberry town, and it was back in the, 50s, and he would, he never had to, get to, he had some crazy, crazy stories, but my favorite stories were ones where he would pull over the town drunks, that were that shouldn't have been driving. And back in that day, every car had a key. I know, that's crazy. Everybody, cars used to have keys. Right. And he would pull them over and they'd start crying. Oh, but Miss Cotton, no. And then he would reach, he said, you know what I got to do? And he would reach and get the keys and he would throw them as far as he could throw them into the ditch. He'd say, by the time you find them, you can drive on home. And he'd leave and they just their keys. You'd get in trouble these days, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
too many cameras.
A little different now.
When somebody catch you on a cell phone and then...
and we wear body cams all the time, too. But now I go to calls, and they've already got their cell phone out. Video and everything. Like, I'm videoing you. I'm like, yeah, I'm videoing you, too.
Yeah. Good. Glad you are.
So we do a couple of things. So I don't know, you guys have probably not watched our show. I don't know. You might be a fan. You might be a super fan. We have super fans that expect certain things of our show, and we do a couple of icebreakers right off the top. So if you don't have anything that comes to mind, my theory is in all the things that we've tried to learn through our whole lives, there are certain things that are just lodged in our brain that are useless information. And now's the time to kind of, like if you're at a party and you're just like, yeah, it's like this always just is stuck in my cranium. So we call those fun facts. And so feel free. It could be a fun fact about yourself. We've had people on here that their fun fact was, kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But like one fun fact, my sister and I sang on The Tonight Show one time when Johnny Carson. Now I'm dating myself.
Oh, I remember Johnny.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. But we were pulled out of the band, the audience to stump the band. That would be, a fun fact. But I've got another fun fact. But we like to talk about some fun facts and just kind of get your opinion about it. I've got one that's nuts. Okay, so I've got two actually. One is, so I am a bit of a history nerd from the 1500s, and like some of these things that we still say in our vocabulary, some phrases, some I'm not sure where, knock on wood, that's one I always forget to look up. But there are certain phrases that we still use today, and they arc back to another time, and I'm fixing to tell you about one. If you don't know this, a shot of liquor. You know why that's called a shot?
Actually,
I do.
I think I did see this the other day.
You probably do because of your perfection, your profession. All right. Do you know? Okay, then I'm going to talk to you and maybe some audience members. And then you guys can tell me if I'm right. But back in the, early days, like 1400s, 1500s, people would come in and they just wanted just a little glass or whatever, and they would pull out a bullet and they would pay for that little swallow of liquor with a bullet, and so eventually it just became known as a shot. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're both about the same cost.
Well, I'm so glad I don't have to look that up. They just confirmed it.
Sometimes I'll
Usually
say
I have
something.
to look it up. But
She'll call bull crap on me. She'll go, I'm looking that up. And so I have one more. So I have to have this. I wish I could show you this. I may put this picture up on the post-production side, but the record for the most babies born to one woman is 69.
what in the world?
I know. She was from Russia, and she gave birth to 60 pairs of twins, 7 sets of triplets, and 4 sets of quadruplets.
Wow.
I know. I've got the picture. I've got it. It's just crazy. I can't even imagine why, if you had one of those multiples, why would you, but recently
I'm trying to break the world record. I guess.
Okay, so when I found that, I posted on my social media account, I posted this thing of like, I was just wondering what my parents did before Netflix, when, just to handle boredom. So I asked my 17 brothers and sisters, and they didn't know either. So that was kind of my way of like saying, yeah, that's probably what happened. But I don't know. That's just crazy. 69 children born to one woman. You got a fun fact?
I do.
All right.
All right. So did you know that women blink nearly twice as much as men?
What?
And, okay, I'm going to read this part because I don't want to get it wrong. Research has shown that wives, when they think their husband has done something idiotic, blinks 5 times faster.
Oh, that is a telling.
Okay. Yeah, that's why my wife's always blinking at me.
5 extra blinks, then something's wrong.
That is funny. Does that? So I've always wanted to ask: do you guys have like training with body language?
Yes.
How to read body language?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, a lot of it, eyes always tell everything. Now that you put me on the spot, I can't remember what's what, but like if someone looks up and left, I believe they're using their imagination.
Oh.
So they're coming up with their fib. If they're looking straight at you, they're more sincere.
Okay.
Words. So if you ask someone a question, if they're guilty, they'll have a repetitive ly word. Like, honestly, sincerely, I don't know anything about it. Honestly.
Yeah.
So there's that ly repetition.
Or they swear
I
to
can see
God.
that.
I swear to God.
Yeah. all the time.
Yeah, like he's not gonna swear to me. What are we doing here? You just got my attention. I love to watch 48 Hours and those kind of shows where like I try to figure it out. Like you guys, they're guilty.
I still watch it with my dad, but I grew up watching it. All the police shows.
The first 48. That's what's fun.
And I love the pieces of it because my dad was on the investigative side, so it was like, I want to know all the details, and that's where I get my whole detail thing from.
Shows like that are a little better because they're based on reality. It's the ones that, like CSI and stuff. Like I'm not saying that they're a bad show,
right?
But it gives the wrong perception to people because then you go in and the jury will sit there on a case and they expect CSI studio television level, stuff. Audio and visual and clues and stuff, and it's like that's not how the real world works. And they're like, oh well, this audio I can't understand it as well as I can in stereo and high definition
probably
television.
Most police
so the
shows,
guy must be not guilty, and it's like
that's why I like Columbo. He just goes in there and he stumbles upon the truth.
Yes.
Right.
He was the best. And you're too young, but Perry Mason. Oh, the best. I mean, like he would come in when a crime had been, committed, and then he would they would always take a break. It'd be like, he's not going to get this one, and they'd take a break, and come back after lunch, or we'll see you tomorrow or something. And then magically it happened. But I just loved it.
Yeah, it's good entertainment value. It's not always how it works in
No.
the real world.
But as a decorator, I like watching that show now because the mid-century modern furnishings, I'm going, oh, that's how you did that, because anyway, so you guys have a fun fact. I mean, you've already shared some stuff, but has anything come? You can always pop it in later too, but
I've got one.
Okay, good.
I don't know. We'll call it fun fact or fiction because I've never verified it.
We will do it.
We'll keep it in the realm of law enforcement. So supposedly it's illegal to shoot a camel in the state of Arizona.
You know what? One of my favorite fun facts is to go down some stupid laws.
Yes.
Stupid laws. That I bet you that
it's probably true.
Absolutely, it sounds like something that
somebody shot one sometime.
So yes. So at what point did a camel end up in what state? Arizona. Maybe a break out of a zoo or something, and somebody just thought, I'm gonna get me a
law about that. I'm going to need a law.
Yeah. I'm going to have to. This is my proof that I actually saw it. I'm going to shoot it. All right. We do another thing called our Southern Mother Moments. So April and I have Southern mothers. Do you have a Southern mother?
No, my family is all from the Midwest.
Well, then we need to educate you.
Okay.
Is your mother Southern?
No, ma'am.
So that's okay. We're going to give you a pass. But do you have a mother story? Did you have a good mother? Is she still alive so we can talk the truth? Is she alive?
Yep.
She is. And what was your mother like?
Oh, she was great. Grew up on a farm,
Really?
just like down home, just no nonsense.
Yeah.
Homeschooled us 4 children for several years.
I didn't know
and then,
that.
kept the house too. Would work occasionally, but mostly was a stay at home.
How many brothers and sisters?
I've got 2 younger brothers and a sister who's the baby.
Okay.
She's spoiled.
So you're the oldest.
I am.
Man, you're in charge.
Yeah.
Of course you're a good police officer.
Yeah, my siblings, they're all, some of them have their own business. They're all doing really well, and they had kids way before I did, so they're the expert on that. I'm the oldest, but they treat me like the youngest sometimes, except when stuff starts going sideways, they all just defer to me.
Oh, yeah.
You're in charge of that.
Yeah. By the way.
I've still got the psychological advantage over them.
What kind of farm?
Well, both my parents actually grew up on farms. They had horses and cows and pigs and lots of corn and soybeans in Iowa. Mm-hmm. Then my dad farmed for a little while when I was a boy. And I remember the corn came all the way up to the backyard.
What part of Iowa?
Right smack dab in the middle, Marshalltown.
Yeah. Okay. So you had Amish around you?
About an hour and a half or 2 hours away. But they had a big Amish. I think it's called the Amana colonies.
Yes.
And they have all the good food. And
have you been to the Amana colonies
not
lately?
in a long time. Not
Okay.
since I was homeschooled.
Let me tell you, that's my favorite jam.
Yeah. Oh,
my
yeah.
family once a year goes, and my family are old gospel music singers, and we don't travel that much anymore. Mostly my parents just do a podcast that I produce for them. But there are a few places that we still go, and we go to Walford, Iowa, and we stay in the one of the Amana colonies, and it is so much fun. I love it. And if you can go when there's a festival going on or something, yeah, you need to take your family out there. It's worth it. So, what about you? What kind of upbringing did you have?
I was born in South Florida, Fort Myers. Both my brothers were born in England. My mom in England. My father in Bangladesh.
Wow.
So I was actually the firstborn in the U.S. out of my entire family.
Is that right?
My mom, loving, provided for all of us. I was the youngest, so she'd run from a football field to a baseball field to karate, Boy Scouts. I mean, she was all over.
So she's from England? What part?
Bury, just outskirts of Manchester.
Okay. Well, south of somewhere.
True.
Yeah, whatever. How did your parents meet?
My mom was working at the hospital where my dad was doing an internship. So they're both retired now. But he was, I guess, working on his doctorate, doing an internship in England.
So was he a doctor?
Retired now, pulmonary specialist.
Okay. So on an earlier podcast, I shared that it's a good thing that, I am not a doctor, because I would be obnoxious. I would just be at a restaurant going, yeah, since I'm a doctor, I think I'm going to have a burger. Like, it would just not even make sense. I would just insert it in the dumbest ways.
Well, my dad's, if he was a doctor nowadays, I think it would make him quit. Just the way he was. And I never realized this growing up. It wasn't until later in life, just, listening to my parents talk to their friends and hearing things I probably shouldn't have. But my dad was what they refer to as a country doctor.
Okay.
I didn't know this, but we got paid. Like my dad would take care of somebody and treat them, and we'd end up on a fishing boat in Lake Okeechobee.
Oh,
Yeah.
So they'd take us fishing as a payment because they didn't have the money.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm a kid. I'm like, we're going
Bartering.
fishing.
Oh,
cool.
yay.
Wow.
So,
What a cool dad.
yeah.
I know of doctors. So, like, I like to watch these art shows, these, art detectives and stuff like that. And a lot of times, especially in decades gone by, in other parts of the world, especially, doctors would get paid in art or in other ways, and I just think that's fascinating. But yeah, he couldn't get away with that here.
Insurances won't allow it.
No,
Yeah.
no, that's too bad. We could learn something from a barter society a little bit. I have an Airbnb, and sometimes I'll be talking to somebody here in town or even out of town, go, you ever want to go to Nashville? I'll barter my Airbnb with you for this.
Yes.
And I think that sometimes, I like that. That's kind of a country way of doing things. The farm, my grandparents were all farmers, and my great-grandparents, and they would talk about, they're all passed now, obviously, my parents in their 80s, but my grandparents would talk about the every farmer would help each other get their corn in and fix their wagons and put up their barns and all the things. And so it was a
Much
real
more
society.
hands-on than now. I mean, everybody's in their own world now, but, back then they really helped each other.
What brought your family to the States?
Before I was even thought, back in the 70s, the U.S. government was giving free citizenships to get more doctors in the U.S.
Yeah.
My dad jumped on that. If I remember correctly, I think they were in Cleveland, Ohio, then Miami, and then my dad moved to Fort Myers.
Do you have other siblings?
2 older brothers.
Okay.
So they're U.S. citizens now, but
Wow.
Yeah.
like I said, I was the
You were
firstborn
the
here.
baby, yeah.
So you're the first, and you're the first born, and so you were born in Florida. So you are a Southerner.
South Florida, I don't think they really count as the South. It
Yeah.
seems like it's everybody from New York.
Yeah.
That's so true. Everybody's
It's a mix of people, really.
It is.
And now, how many Californians do we have? Like we just have.
I just pulled over somebody last night or 2 nights ago from California. She's like, I think I'm going to move here, and I'm like,
no, please don't.
We're full.
Come back later.
Try Alabama. I heard they still have room.
Mississippi.
Man, I was on a plane flying from here to L.A. recently, and a girl got on the plane, and she had a T-shirt that said "Nashville just needs a beach," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're from California, aren't you?"
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, that's so fun. We just have so many questions. But what would you like to share with us? Anything? Because you're still an active police officer.
I can share plenty. I've known Huston forever.
Well, that's right. You guys have talk about that.
Yeah.
Well, we used to go to church together.
Yes.
I met my first wife at that church, Word of Life, and it was great. Everything was fine, and then till it wasn't,
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah. But even Chloe, like my adopted daughter, was from Guatemala.
That's right.
So Huston would come over and translate and call our.
You speak Spanish?
Yes.
That's amazing. That's
and
another
it was
thing
so
that I would
exciting.
be ridiculous about.
Like we could not wait. We're like, what'd they say? What'd they say? We have no idea. He probably just made it up. I mean, I don't know.
Sometimes, but 90% of it was
I remember
true.
one time though, literally, she said that my baby was gordo. Fat. And I'm like, really? Why she said my baby's fat? And he said, no, it's like good, like healthy, like
gordita,
like good or whatever. So
like a cute, roly-poly, pudgy, healthy.
Gordita.
Healthy baby.
I think I had that for lunch.
Yeah.
I have a gordita with cheese.
A little fatty with cheese.
So we were connected on that.
Okay.
I mean, it was like awesome because he would come over maybe once a week or so and just call and check on her because we didn't see her. Like they first said it would be just this 7 months at the most. It ended up being 18 months.
Wow.
So you go through all these holidays and all these birthdays and you don't see her. And so we found a number from the people that was actually keeping her. She wasn't in an orphanage, but with private people. And so Huston would make calls to him, or they would call us, and we were trying to figure out I said, what do they say? So that, and then we went on a mission trip together.
Yeah, New Orleans.
Oh.
That was eye-opening for this
Mardi
little
Gras.
girl in the bubble over here. I'm like literally sitting in the van going, what am I doing
She's
going
still
here?
in the bubble. What was she like
That's
back
what
in
I
the
was
day?
thinking. What is she doing here? She's just too sheltered.
No, I asked God that in the van. I'm like, literally, I've never drank. I've never done drugs. Okay, what am I going to tell these people?
Yeah.
I have no wisdom for them.
Well, I think about that sometimes too, because you get these people with these testimonies. They've come from so much, and I haven't. I mean, growing up, I've had some drama since then, but growing up, I had a great family. I got along with my siblings, our cousins. I mean, just family birthdays were 30 people.
Yes, same.
And as I got older, you're like, kids that were traumatized physically or sexually or just all this stuff. And I'm like, man, I didn't even know anybody like that.
Yeah, I was super blessed
So where's
too.
where's my testimony? But God just said, hey, I spared you from all that so that you can tell people that this way of life is possible.
Well, and he pretty much told me, you needed me too. You needed a savior no matter what you done.
Exactly.
So I'm like, no matter how good I could have been, it wasn't good enough. So I was like,
do you have some dirt on her?
Really? That's where we're going?
I'm dying to know. Like,
well, we were talking earlier, she met this guy, and he pulled a knife on her, and I was
in
just
New
like,
First
Orleans?
5 minutes, I'm like,
like I can't even imagine what must have been going through her mind, because it's like she went from the bubble to the worst possible place, the complete solar opposite.
he was coming after me.
And,
it was
and
serious.
I wasn't even there because I was just all like, being in law enforcement, my hero complex is all like, oh, aren't we not protecting our women?
Yes. Thanks a lot, Huston.
But we were in the van and everything was fine, and she was talking about it on the phone, and she's being really quiet. She's like, nobody can hear what she's saying. She's like, and he had a T-shirt and it said, Jesus loves you, but everyone else thinks you're an A-H-O-L-E. And I'm like, poor sweet innocent April. She got to spell out that word. Like, that's not even the worst part of it.
I got Debbie Potter from Mom, okay?
that is so
But
funny.
I just remember, it's like, he just like, it was out before you even knew it. And I'm like, oh, now what do we do? Because I don't really feel like I was trained for this. So
no, we didn't have any training for that. I mean, that's...
I just kind of whispered around to our youth pastor that was with us, you might want to come over here. I just got a knife pulled on me.
Oh, my gosh.
And you can't make any sudden moves because...
Right.
Yeah. I live downtown Nashville, and so I see so much, and I think I know I think I recognize people because they're regulars too. And I was getting air in my Tesla recently at the gas station, so I never go in this gas station because I drive a Tesla. But I had to get some air, and it's just down the street on Wedgwood from where I live, and I pull in, and here comes this guy with, I've seen him, and he is clipping pretty good toward me with, with urgency. And I said, stop right there. And he's kind of startled. I says, I don't need your help. I don't have any money on me, and you need to go right. I don't need you, so don't come any closer. How about that? And he said, okay. And he turns around, and I'm like, I just took, I'm like, this is how far you're going to go.
You handle it.
And you're going to turn right around. And I just, I thought some boldness comes over me when I'm just around, but I'm thinking, what would I do if he actually, like I'm thinking, I'm driving a Tesla. He could drive off because this is not about a key, and this is not a, wouldn't be very hard. I'm backed by my tire, and this wouldn't be a very hard, situation. But no, it was just a take charge moment. But
so now, in my defense, I'm not quite so naive. Okay, I've taken Krav Maga now. Okay,
so listen, don't listen to her. We were just on a road trip. And we were finally getting to where were we headed? Tulsa.
And she broke the rules. I'm going to go ahead and tell you. Okay. She broke the law.
Freaked out. But we ended up on a toll road. We're just following our directions, and we ended up on a toll road, and now we got to exit, and we don't have any money.
It's pouring down rain.
And they don't take anything but cash. And
it was an old one, like no new credit card type things.
No, it was just throw change in this bucket, in this cage, and so nobody's around. It's late at night, and it is a torrential downpour. Yes. And so we're digging in our purses and cup holders and everything else and throwing change in it, and it's still not going green because we haven't given it enough. And so I'm like, I don't know. And then a car comes up. And so the lights are just right behind me. I'm going, screw this. And I just like gunned it and went off. And she's like, no.
I said, oh my gosh, you broke the law. What are you doing?
What are they going to do? I'm probably $2-3 off.
I said, they're chasing us. That's what they're doing. They have our car tag. We're going to jail.
It's in her car. And she thinks every day for the next week that she's like looking in the mirror going, are we being followed? Did they find us yet?
That's what being a cop kid has done for me over the years. Okay. I'm scared to death. They're going to come get us.
So finally we got home, and a couple weeks later,
$3.50 later.
We got a message.
I paid it online immediately.
So I'm like,
as soon as I got home from the mailbox.
Wow.
They're gonna have to try harder than that to make me nervous. But she's like, it's my car. You don't understand. I've never had a ticket in my life.
I've never been pulled over for even speeding in my life.
I'm due for one. I'd feel better if I got pulled over because I'm just needing to have my conscience clear.
I got one ticket for turning right on red at Rivergate when they first posted that, and it was like up for a week. It's the only ticket I've ever got in my life. I've never been pulled over for speeding.
Yeah,
I mean, I try to keep the law, but someone else that was riding with me does not.
Bad influence.
She's alive at 55. I don't know what to tell you. I'm driving.
She goes, I'm going to drive the rest of the time because you drive like a grandma.
And if I get pulled over, I'll deserve it. What about you? What would you? So now, how do you like being in the school system with all these kids, or do you see?
I do. It's completely different. When I first started in law enforcement on patrol, became a traffic unit. So I was constantly pulling cars over, giving them citations, not really warnings. matter of fact, I can only think of one morning I gave, which is actually kind of a funny story, if I may.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why
We
you're
need
here.
some stories.
Just so you know, his wife said, "You're going to be on a podcast. What are you going to talk about?" So this is what you're
The
going to talk about.
story.
So we
Yeah, I was just like, I have no idea. We'll find out.
None of us know. Okay.
But I pulled over this one lady for speeding, 18 over the speed limit, and our little spiel was, hey, I'm Officer Rashid. The reason why I stopped you, is there a lawful reason why you're doing that? She puts her phone down, looks at me, and goes, lawful reason? No. But let me tell you the day I've had. Please proceed.
Please do. Because I've not had one. Please do.
So she's like, my 18-year-old daughter, who for the last 6 months told me she was working at a hospital changing bedpans, is working at a strip club. Oh. How do you know, I ask? My coworker sent me a picture of her.
No.
So I take it you're on your way to Nashville? No, I'd kill her. You know what? Just slow it down. I just walked back to my car.
You get a free pass, ma'am.
I don't want to be your
I
mother.
cannot help you.
Yeah, I don't think you can make that day any worse. So I was just like, you got enough on your plate.
Wow.
That's a rough day. That is.
So I want to know how you guys know each other.
Oh, that's a good story.
Go for it.
Well, I've been working for Gallatin for a couple of years, and then Rashid started on, and through no fault of his own, because he kind of got hired before a friend of mine did, because he had taken initiative and put himself through the academy, so he was already post-certified. So that kind of put him ahead in the process, and then I was going through some stuff anyway, so it wasn't completely his fault, but we just didn't mesh at first. So I made it a personal project to just give him a hard time as much as I could, as often as I could. And
he failed. I have 2 older brothers.
Yeah, you're like, I don't even hear you.
You gotta get up earlier than that.
We had a few moments. But then I went away to school, and then he stayed there for a little while, and then he moved on. So I hadn't seen him in years. And I got back from school, and then I was doing a little side weekend work downtown doing some security. And then he was one of the off-duty officers there.
Oh, okay.
And he showed up one night, and he's like, oh, hey, man, how's it going? And I'm like, okay, good. He's not mad at me.
He's not going to kill me, so that's good.
And then he requested to be Facebook friends, and I was like, okay, whatever. And I'm not on it a lot, but I have a page. I'm like, all right, cool. We're good. So we worked together a few times, and then I belong to this group called Man of War Society.
This is the secret society.
Well, it's not really a secret society.
I want to know about it, though.
We want to know.
It's not the Illuminati.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, it's mysterious, though.
But he'd seen some pictures. I went through the Crucible back in 20, and he'd seen some pictures online, and so he was asking me about it. So we went out to lunch one day, and he asked me a bunch of questions, and I was like, well, I can kind of answer some of them. I can't answer all of them, but he's like, yeah, I think I want to do it. I said, all right, well, I'll recommend you, to go to the website and do this and that. And then you have an interview to see if you can even go. And he's like, oh, yeah, I know Huston, Callaway. And I'm like, oh, man.
Don't say that.
I said, if you drop my name, you better finish, because they have almost a 40% dropout rate.
Wow.
Is it just for police officers or people
it's
in the?
Just for men.
Okay, just for men.
Yeah.
Can you tell us sort of what
we
it
can,
is?
we can give you. I mean, there's
just the back end of it. So once you go through your.
What is this? I mean, what is
the Crucible is a 5-day period. When you go down to an undisclosed location, you're cut off basically from the rest of the world, and we put you through physical tests, we mess with you psychologically, and then there's also classes too, and it's. Really, the founder, Rafa Conde, he was a police officer. He was actually a Wall Street guy for making a lot of money, but he just felt there was something else inside him that he needed to do. So he became a police officer, and he was detailed out to the drug task force with the DEA. We've got stories. He's got stories. But he was an instructor at the academy for a while too, and he said, "Man, these guys are coming through, and they're just soft." And it was just seeing it progressively get worse and worse, and it was very frustrating to him. So he decided that he was going to build a society of warrior-minded men. And I know some people, when they hear that initially, they think, oh, it's just a bunch of chauvinistic guys, standing around. But no, it's like the premise is we're building better husbands, better fathers, better protectors, better leaders, better businessmen in the community. And I got to go through Group 4, so I was kind of on the front end of it. And then I became a coach shortly after that. Okay. And then about a year or so later. When did you go through in 21 or 22?
G7, April of 21.
Okay, so shortly after he's kind of on the front end.
Yeah.
And then he recently became a coach. Was it last year?
Back in December.
Yeah.
Became official.
So like
what
our
good
relationship
do you
has
have?
grown.
Like you go forth and do what? Just be better men, or do you have things that as a group that you guys all participate in? That's
we have monthly meetings on Zoom. We have events 2 or 3 times a year. We've just recently switched over to more of like a regional thing because we're spread out all over the country. So we have more regional events for like Central Region, Western, and Eastern. But every December we have everybody comes together down in Florida. We go to a nice hotel. We have classes. We have guest speakers come in, and there's always a structure of how we can be better men. Are we keeping each other accountable? And as it grows, there's a network too.
Yeah.
So if somebody needs advice on something or somebody needs this or that,
It's
we've got
a sorority.
doctors and lawyers.
It's a grown man's sorority, right? I mean, you go through the gauntlet or whatever. Yeah.
Great example of something that we've done. In North Carolina, there's a thing called the Mid-Year Ruck. One of the coaches puts it on, and we make it a family event, but then there's a part where we'll put rucksacks on full of food, and we donate to the local pantry. So there's a challenge there. We're rucking about 5 miles with as much as food, canned goods, pasta, rice that you can carry.
Yeah.
And then we donate it.
I do that every day.
We've also done something where challenge physical and kind of mental to push your boundaries. There's a gentleman named Jeremy Jingle. He has something called Death by 5K. It's a 5K, one every 2.5 hours, 10 in a 24-hour period. Well, we've joined him on that, and during that process, we raised, I think, our first time over $15,000 for Vets for Child Rescue.
Wow.
So we're giving back, we're pushing ourselves physically, mentally, and we're doing it together.
Yeah.
So that way,
The camaraderie probably that you build with each other is
And
just
the brotherhood
unmatched.
probably is incredible.
Oh yeah.
So
I love it.
Wow, that's awesome. We need something like that for every generation. Like with these kids, don't you find it? I'll ask as a mother. So I see things from my lens, right? And I've raised my kids, but I just think that as a society, we have to have guys like that are standing up and saying, "Here's what a real man is," and here's it's your gun is the last thing you have to be good people. Like if we just. You can't take away all the guns and solve all the problems, and you can't give everybody a gun and solve all the problems. Who are you in your core, and what are your...
Right, yeah, it's not the gun, it's the person holding the gun.
Absolutely.
Like, what values do they hold?
Yes. And do they even value life or people at all?
Right.
And if they don't, then, what are you going to do?
Well, they'll find another way. It's not just about guns.
No.
I mean, people have been killing each other for centuries.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But we just, we want to instill a sense of responsibility and accountability in these warrior-minded men, just to step up and be leaders.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe some people find that a little offensive, but I think the majority of people, find that more comforting because.
So how do you think that has helped you be a better police officer?
Well, definitely because the 5-day crucible that we went through was very physically taxing. Sleep deprivation.
I saw some of the pictures. I was like,
carrying people on your back. I mean, I was wet and sandy and tired the whole time, right? But some of the guys, you're like, we can't watch everybody all the time. Now that I'm a coach, I can see it from their perspective, but we can't watch every person every single second, but we kind of get a good idea of who's doing what. And people will kind of try to fudge on it, They're like, I'm not going to carry you as far. Or like, can you help me out a little bit? Can you do this? And they're cheating, right? Basically, because it's not about how hard it is. If somebody is super fit and they can do 100 push-ups, I'll make them do 500 push-ups, right? Because we're going to wear you out physically, because that's when it starts to get into your head, and it's a reflection of how you're actually going to be out in the real world. If you're going to cheat here, you're going to cheat in life. If it's too hard here, if you're not going to at least keep trying, and there's a difference between people who we push them to the point where physically they can't do anything, but they're still trying.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing as life. You get to a point and you're like, I don't know if I can go on anymore. I'm like, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to give up and die? Or are you going to push through and find a way?
Yeah.
And that's what we're pushing them to do here. And after a couple of days, it kind of starts to make sense. Or people will quit. You know, they, like I said, 40% dropout.
So you can quit in the middle of the.
Oh, you can quit at any time. Okay. And to be honest, on the
I'm
second
quitting
day,
right now.
The second day, we're up at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's still dark outside. They've got us lined up along the river, and I don't really know what's going to happen. I just know that it's not going to be fun.
Yeah.
And they're like, anybody wants to quit right now while they're still dry, go right ahead. And I thought, you know what? I've got the rest of the week off. Nobody knows where I am. I live by myself. I could just say that I finished, and nobody would know the difference. And for about, it felt like several minutes, but it was really like 10 seconds. I was like, I almost stepped forward. I'm like, you know what? I don't need this. I've been a police officer for years. I went back to school and got a graduate degree. Like, I don't have anything to prove to anybody. And then I go, I can't live with myself if I don't finish this.
You're not a quitter.
You'll have to go back. Can you go back if you?
Sometimes, depending on the circumstances. Some people get hurt and they can't continue on.
Yeah.
Or they get sick and then they're allowed to come back. But most of the time, even people who have been allowed to, I don't know anybody. Like I said, one person has actually come back and then completed. Everybody that quits the first time and come back, they don't finish it the second time either. And it's only happened once or twice in the last year.
Wow.
So, do you encourage, or do you see a need for more people, young men and women, to get into law enforcement? Do you think there's a need?
Yes, I mean, there's definitely they're struggling to fill the positions.
Yes.
But then that brings people that probably aren't as qualified as they should be. And, you know, I've said for years, I'm like, let's pay police officers what we pay professional entertainers and athletes, and then train them more, and we get higher quality people. Because, you know, up until recently, excuse me, I mean, high school diploma, and then you spend a couple months at an academy, and then, of course, you get on the job training. But it's like... You know, we expect so much from our law enforcement officers. Well, what are we equipping them with?
Yeah.
So, are you still in Gallatin, or are you in Sumner County?
No, I'm in Gallatin.
You're in Gallatin.
Yeah. I thought about going. I still live in Nashville, and some of the guys there were like, "Hey, you could work for Smyrna and this and that." And I'm like, I don't have a problem with that. But I'd been in Gallatin for a few years.
You know the area.
I knew the chief. I knew like everybody that I was working with on the road are all sergeants and above now. So it's not like I get favoritism. It's just that they already know me, and I don't have to prove myself over again. So I went back there.
I do have a question for both of you. What is like the biggest challenge in being a police officer in law enforcement today, or what do you think some of the challenges are?
For me, I think the biggest challenge is just not getting too cynical.
Yeah.
Because I absolutely 100% want to help people.
Yeah.
But I've also gotten to the point where I'm not going to work harder than you are to help yourself.
Yes.
Right.
And you come into a situation, and you've been into that situation hundreds of times, and this one might be a little different, or somebody might actually be trying to work on themselves, but initially you're just like, this person is in this position because they've made a series of bad decisions and they want me to fix it in 20 minutes. And then they get mad at me because I can't. And I'm like, I can help you, and I can help you do better from here, but I can't change what's already happened. And, you know, then people want to blame me, and I'm like, you may not want me here, but I don't even want to be here.
So do you see a lot of repeat offenders being in the same area?
Yeah.
You get called to the same places, or you may stop them the same. Yeah.
And some people, you know, they've got a victim mentality. But then sometimes, and you know, you'll meet somebody and you'll never see them again because they actually listened to what you had to say and started to make some changes, and that is super gratifying to me, because I'm like, okay, I had some impact on this person making better decisions in their life.
And sometimes, and of course this is the mom and me coming out too, but sometimes I think that being arrested is just another it's definitely a protection, because they're hurting themselves or someone else, and they need to be confined to, you know, think about what you've done, you know, and strip all of the strip all of that danger away, both to themselves and others, and just like isolation sometimes really is a wake-up call. I have friends who are, they work with people coming out of jail and safe houses and, like transitional homes for women and in Hopkinsville, Kentucky and stuff. And there is a real there's a real trend in what they see is that sometimes jail is the best thing that ever happened to some of these women, because it was a real wake-up call. It was a real aha moment. We've had several guests on that kind of had a similar experience. It was the come to Jesus moment of like, wait a second, I don't deserve, I'm not supposed to be here,
Yeah.
So my wrong choices. What do you find as far as the school system?
That's what I was wanting to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Challenges.
So it's different. Growing up, I've actually been to public schools as well as private. High school, I was at a Catholic school in South Florida where, if you misbehaved, you were mowing the yard.
Oh, yes.
You were mowing the football field.
Yes.
You missed a patch, guess what? You're out there with the coach, and he's watching you with a pair of scissors cut one blade of grass at a time.
Yes.
Yeah.
After a meal, football team meal, guess what? You're washing the pots and pans before you put your gear on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here, there's too much entitlement. There's too much, like parents, like, this is what your son did. Oh, my son would never do that.
Yeah.
It's on video.
So they're not really helping you. They're just...
They're making it harder.
Yeah.
Now, one good thing, I work for the sheriff's office in Cheatham County. A lot of the school districts, they just made it to where students, when they walk into the classroom, have to put their phones in like a little shoe rack at the door. So they can't be on their
That's good.
person. Still, 80% of my problems in the school revolve around the cell phone and social media.
Wow.
If we could get rid of that, I think that'd be a
See,
huge
we didn't
step
even
forward.
have that when we were in school.
Thank God.
And that's one of the biggest things they say. Well, what if my
What did
parents
they
need to
do
get a hold
before
of me?
then? It's...
Yeah. That's their biggest argument. Well, what if my parents need to get a hold of me? Then they'll call the front office.
Yeah. Right.
They've done that for years.
And you'll have to walk all the way down the hall
Yeah.
to actually take the phone call.
So, usually it's a note. Hey, you're taking the bus home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it was done when I grew up. So, that's the biggest struggle.
Yeah. So as times change, and I guess as society changes as a whole, it's going to affect that, And
And it's scary to think that these kids are going to be the leaders. And there's a lot of there's a big leap between. That's why I think a lot of people are homeschooling. Like, I think that's a big trend because there's just a lot of just lack of accountability, and I think if when I'm talking to homeschool families, sometimes I will encourage them that being a self-starter with your studies and being able to discipline yourself to do your work also means that you're going to be a good employee, and you're going to be a good employer, and you're going to manage tasks better because you've learned to do them. And it depends on you starting yourself, and not just how much can I get away with, because that is, it's part of being a kid. Like we all, had that somewhat. But again, a lot of farmers in my family, and farmers, you have animals. There are things that you got to do, and you just got to do it. It's just part of living. And we do have an entitled mindset. I was told my kids, nobody owes you anything, and so I don't know. I felt like that if they broke my home rules, then they were going to break school rules, and they were going to break society rules, and sometimes I would go all drama on them, and I want a do-over on raising my kids. I do. I want a do-over, but
I think everybody wants a do-over.
My philosophy was like, it'd take one little thing, like, you lied to me about that, and you're gonna go straight to jail, and I'm not gonna visit you. I'll visit you, but I'm not gonna bail you out. Like, I'd go all I'm sorry about that.
Next thing you know, you're running toll booths with not chains.
Yeah, exactly.
Loosey goosey.
scaring me to death.
What is the girl? What are the two girls on the movie?
Thelma and Louise. I had to go watch it because people started calling us, and I'm like, "What's this movie about?" Because they're saying we're Thelma and Louise. I got to go see what this is all about. Yep. She's the driver. Yep.
Oh,
Everything's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be fine, April.
Next thing you know, you're driving off a cliff.
Yes, exactly. Dying.
Woo! We're gonna be laughing. We're gonna be laughing about it. I would think.
Speaking of laughing, we gotta have some stories. Can y'all tell stories?
Oh yeah.
Okay. You don't have to use names or nothing, but come on, we need some good stories.
What's one of your best? So just act like you're hanging out and you just got to tell us something.
Well, so one of my wife's favorite stories is we got a call. The guy was public.
That's what we needed to do. We needed to have their wives because they'll make you tell the real good stuff.
So we got a call. There was a gas station. Guy was publicly urinating.
Yeah.
So I get there. He's all slumped over in his car. And I'm just like, okay, man, can you get out of the car and talk and this and that? And then, so I was assigned to the call, but then we have a traffic guy who comes over and he had a trainee. So they were going to kind of take it over, but I'm hanging out helping and stuff. So they're going through this standardized field sobriety tests. And so then they were doing one where, you close your eyes and you touch the tip of your nose, right?
Yeah.
And he's getting kind of belligerent. He doesn't like me for some reason, but I'm used to that. But he's all like, I'm doing these tests perfectly. He goes like, you got nothing on me. Watch this. And then he's like trying to touch his nose and he just goes. My wife thought that was the funniest thing. He goes, when these tests come back,
got it?
He's like, when these tests come back, you're going to owe me an apology. I'm like, you tell me when your court date is, and I will show up even on my day off because I want to see you watch this when you're sober.
Yes. That's great.
That's
awesome. That's awesome.
And I mean, he didn't stop talking the whole time. We had to get a warrant to get his blood and.
Did he do a bunch of those honestly and all those LY
well,
words?
he was, he did, and he was getting very defiant because he's just like, oh, you have to give me a breathalyzer. I'm like, we don't do breathalyzers in Sumner County. We just take you to the jail or to the hospital and get blood. That's why we do a breathalyzer, see what your blood alcohol content is. But I was trying to logically explain this to him, and he was very drunk.
Not thinking correctly.
So I was helping out, like I said, and so the other two officers, finally we got him out of the hospital. We got the blood. They're taking him back to jail to process him and everything. And then, like I said, he didn't like me, and he kept talking. I didn't really say anything until the very end. I was ready to leave. They almost had him back in the car. He was starting to calm down. I said, oh, yeah, did you charge him for public indecency, too? And he goes, what? And I go, my work here's done. And I...
and goodbye.
The initial.
I'm out.
Oh, that's so funny.
So I got him all riled up again for my coworkers.
To handle.
They didn't appreciate, but they understand the humor. I mean, that's one of the other things, too, that drew me back into law enforcement is just the camaraderie.
Yeah.
And nobody understands or sees the world like we do. I can't talk to a civilian about things in that world.
And then
like
get
I can,
it.
and then they just don't understand it.
Right.
And you just come back, and then, I mean, like my best friend, I got him a job there a couple of years ago, and now he's my boss. So, like when he told me that he was getting promoted, he's like, I've already got like 7 or 8 insubordination documents written up with your name on them. I'm like, okay, I mean, we just give each other a hard time, but I know that if I need anything, that they're there for me. And the same thing with the society too. It's just something that if you're not part of it, you just don't understand it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And that's one thing too. As Huston was saying, the things we see, deal with, have to take initial reports. I've responded to car crashes where we're standing over a dead body, or I'm taking a report and, I'm not asking the questions because we don't have like a child advocate with us, but they're just crying and unloading, like, why did he touch me there? And it's just like the things we are exposed to and have to deal with. I think that's one reason with the society, it helps keep me focused on different things, but also my wife. My wife is a very strong, loving, good-hearted person. Now, I don't know if that's the European in her or not, because I mean, she's originally from Poland. So, there's warm embrace in one hand and a sledgehammer in the other.
Yeah.
Both for my head. But, there's a lot of things I don't ever tell her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she is what keeps me grounded. And I think from getting jaded or getting to where I'm just so bitter with dealing with people repetitively or dealing with certain circumstances to where, I lose my cool. So that's one thing, too, is you got to have that good outlet. And the society does that for me.
Law enforcement it's a family. I mean, it's a family thing to deal with, because I remember literally wondering if my dad would come home, having that fear of what if dad got shot or killed in the line of duty, and I don't have him anymore.
Well, and that's something I've actually had a conversation with my wife on. She always knows to stay to my left.
Yeah.
Because my gun's usually on my right. If we're out in public, it's under a shirt on my right. And if I ever say get the F away, she's ready to call 911.
Yeah.
She knows my husband is an off-duty officer. Here's what he's wearing.
Yeah.
What's going on, where they're at.
Yes.
My husband's an off-duty officer. Here's what he's wearing. So she knows to say it twice.
Yeah.
Why would you have to have a conversation like that?
Yeah.
But that's a world we're in.
And I remember even the scanner, when I was little, me and Mom were watching or listening to the scanner. My dad was in a high-speed chase, which he wrecked and ended up, it was actually another police officer that did the wrong move and made him wreck. But, we didn't know if he was dead, if he was hurt. We just knew he wrecked really bad. And we were listening to it when it happened. Yeah. So it's like, and I think the women, the wives are so, it can make or break you. I mean, really, literally, because if you don't have that support, and I have so much respect for the whole family, but especially the wives that have to be there and not even ask the questions and not pry about it, but just go, you know what, I'm here for you, but,
Have you guys lost personal friends in the line of duty?
I have been to a couple funerals. When it comes to traffic, I mean, he was a guru. And, I mean, he gave me information, and I repeat some of his phrases. Sergeant Danny Strope.
Danny.
He was, I'm trying to think. He retired. He got into law enforcement in 1977. I was born in 1977, so that's why I remember that. He ended up dying 6 months after he finally retired.
Wow.
But, I mean, he was a great guy. I mean, his stories were hilarious.
Yeah.
He knew his stuff. And I tell you, he had fingers that were like big old sausage links.
Wow.
When he made a fist, it was the size of like an elephant paw.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I would hate to get hit by that thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he was awesome. I mean,
Yeah,
he really
was
was.
great. I worked with him.
Another one was Kevin Thomas. Wasn't line of duty. Was a brain tumor.
Yeah.
So kind of watching him forget who we were was a little heartening.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've been to a few funerals, and
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, they suck.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
Do you, what is the organization that takes care of the family members when an officer passes?
COPS is a big one. Concerns of Police Survivors. As you recall, I said we did a fundraiser for Vets for Child Rescue. That was 2 years ago. This past year, we did one for COPS. They're a national organization, but they have chapters. We raised money for them, but they're there for the family.
Yeah.
They don't let officers get forgotten. So like on their Facebook page, they're constantly saying, hey, here was an officer 3 years ago. Here's what happened.
Yeah.
So Concerns of Police Survivors is, I'm sure there's others, but that's a great one. And I've personally made contact with a couple of them, and outstanding organization.
Yeah. We might have some people that would like to donate, for whatever, however much they could to one of these organizations. Do you agree? You have another one that you...
No, COPS is the one that I'm more familiar with. But
Yeah.
and then each precinct kind of takes care of their own, too.
Yeah.
So when Kevin went down, there was a bunch of people there helping out because he had wife and kids and stuff. And so we'd visit and take meals, and because it is a family. But
Yeah.
I think over the years, though, it's harder because as time goes by, you tend to forget things. So it's good to have another, national organization to keep track of those things and remind things. And I was just thinking about, you said your dad was in an accident. And surprisingly, I mean, that's where most cops get hurt or killed is in traffic accidents.
Not even being shot or anything.
It's not so much being shot. So it's just, it's tough, Traffic in Nashville is horrible.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys, what is the Nashville policy or the Middle Tennessee policy for car chases?
It depends on which precinct you're working for, which station you're working for. But a lot of people have gone to, a lot of places have gone to, unless this person is going to probably hurt or kill somebody, like it's imminent, then it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Because it always ends badly.
Yeah.
Kind of like a motorcycle. I won't chase anyone on a motorcycle because I don't want to be responsible for their death.
Right.
Yeah.
So. I live downtown and I just have been noticing how many of mounted police we have downtown. How is that a new thing?
I think
I don't
new
think
in
it is.
Nashville?
I think
they've had it, but I don't.
Newer,
Yeah, I think
using
they're
it as
or
much.
amping it up. Maybe.
Yeah, I think they're amping it
Because
up.
don't they close down Broadway on Friday and Saturday nights to vehicles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like New Orleans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like that.
I will see them a lot of times in clumps of, like 5 horses at a time. I'm like, well, you don't want to mess with those guys.
See, all honesty, I think the bike patrol's more useful than the horses.
Yeah.
The horses just look pretty, but they're bigger, so they can kind of
Yeah.
push a crowd.
Yeah.
But I think bike patrol's got more of an asset down there.
I'm scared of motorcycles so bad. Are you guys on motorcycles
Well,
ever?
not motorcycle, bicycles.
Yeah.
Oh, bicycles.
Yeah.
A cop on a bicycle?
Yeah, they have those downtown Nashville.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, what about the like the woohoo girls on the, you work downtown sometimes security?
Yeah, working security. I kicked out those woohoo girls like
Oh, they
every
were
20
annoying.
minutes.
They were annoying.
Yeah, they're everywhere. I had
control.
somebody from New York say in the entertainment industry, I was recently in Nashville and the uniform is shorty shorts and cowboy boots and pink cowboy hats. Is like, yeah, those are the woohoo girls. Well, listen, we have had fun today with these guys, and hopefully you've enjoyed this show. Tune in again next time. Who knows who we're going to have here on Get It Together, y'all, but we're really glad you joined us today. Thank you, guys, for coming and sharing your stories with us. Stay safe out there. Get it together, y'all. We're here to help. Okay, bye-bye.